Welcome to the newest episode and a weekend edition of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. In today's video, we're going to talk about the breaking news yesterday out of Atlanta that has NASCAR fans once again questioning what's going on over at Stewart-Haas Racing, with the announcement that the roof rail deflectors on the cars of Ryan Preece and Noah Gragson were confiscated. However, before we get to that, we have a few other stories to talk about in our This Week in NASCAR segment. And let's start with Tuesday, the day after William Byron won his first Daytona 500. To the victor go the spoils, and the HMS driver enjoyed plenty of them this week, beginning with a trip to the Big Apple, where he visited the various morning shows and some notable landmarks. Tuesday was also a busy day for the various NASCAR-related podcasts recapping the Great American Race, including Bubba Wallace making a guest appearance with the guys on Door Bumper Clear, and Kevin Harvick in his debut of the new Happy Hour pod. But undoubtedly, the biggest news of the day came from an unsurprising source in Denny Hamlin and his Actions Detrimental podcast. The three-time Daytona 500 champ talked about the race like everyone else, but it's what he said happened before the race that made headlines. Take a look.
I do know that the team owners met on Saturday. I was there. The invitation was extended to Jim France that was in town, but he declined that invitation. So I think it's disappointing. Certainly I can't think of a league or an owner of a league or a commissioner that would decline meeting with his team owners. That's very disappointing. And all I think the teams are wondering is, you said no over and over and over to us. We're just looking for an explanation of why, and we haven't got that why yet.
Wow. Hamlin calling out NASCAR CEO Jim France to start the 2024 season is a bold move. He tried to downplay what he had to say, like the other owners in the room were better versed and would be able to talk in more details about the subject. But I can guarantee what he did have to say was very calculated, and the other owners knew it was coming because they all know the platform he has and that NASCAR listens to it. Just look back to last year and what happened to him after Phoenix and the penalty he received. You know NASCAR heard him then and now. Listening to Hamlin's remarks, all I could think was, this is going to get interesting. Now, I fully expect them to get a deal done on charter negotiations, but there could be more shots fired in the future, and I'm here for it. On Wednesday, it was another podcast under the Dirty Mo Media umbrella that got fans' attention. This time it was the main podcast, the Dale Jr. Download, which had three-time Cup Championship winning crew chief Ray Evernham on as a guest. The NASCAR Hall of Famer talked about a variety of topics, including his recent news about IROC, but the most interesting conversation came when he surprised Jr. with a revelation about his father and his relationship with Jeff Gordon. Take a look.
Hey, Andy and I had our own channel between the two of us when he was crew chief for your dad.
And y'all would talk amongst each other?
We'd talk amongst ourselves. Yep.
Bull.
Yep, that's the truth. Yeah,
How long did that happen?
It went on for 2 years, and then Andy, went and got his own team, and I think we did it for one more year when he had Schrader. But
no kidding.
100%, you ask Andy. We had the 3 and the 24 were almost our own little teammates.
No one's going to believe that.
That's true. That's 100% true.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
But that wasn't all. Until now, Evernham hasn't talked publicly about why he left the SRX series after its first year. He did just that with Earnhardt.
Well, as with anything, there's partnerships, right? And when you have a dream and you all agree this is the direction this is going to go on and this is the funding that it's going to take to do it. And here's my job, here's your job, and here's his job, right? And at the end of the year, when there's no moving forward, financially or things like that, you have to have a hard conversation with the partners. Like, wait a minute, this is what we agreed on. This is what I think it's going to take to be successful. And at that time, the other partners felt like it was going to take something else for it to be successful, or they could be successful a different way. And I didn't want to do that. So I said, okay, well, you probably need to have somebody else run this then, because I don't believe that path that you're going will be successful. And so I stepped aside.
Interesting stuff, and why Earnhardt's download is a must-listen every week because no matter the guest, there's always entertaining and sometimes headline-making content. Moving on to Thursday, and specifically NASCAR Race Hub. Joey Logano joined the show in what they described as the first Thursday driver guest of the season, which will feature a different driver every Thursday, where they'll talk about their careers and their lives outside of racing. Among the topics discussed was Logano's rivalries with numerous drivers throughout his career. One of the first was with Kevin Harvick. The Team Penske driver watched the clip of what he had to say in 2010 at Pocono about Harvick and who wears the fire suit, and offered a different perspective on what happened all these years later.
Yeah, shouldn't have said that. I took that way on the personal side. And even looking back at it, I really deserve to get dumped on the whole thing, too. So you learn a lot as you get older.
The 33-year-old, who has proven that he's good in the broadcast booth working Xfinity Series races in the past, also talked about his future life after racing, where he mentioned that TV might be an option, but before he gets there, he wants to try and eclipse Jeff Gordon's Ironman award with more than 800 Cup starts, and projected that he will get there in 8 seasons. Interesting stuff for sure, but Logano's most eye-opening remark came when he was talking about his early days as a driver, when he was just 14 years old and had his first ride in a Cup car. Listen to this.
I'm 14 years old, and I'm possibly going to sign with Roush. They give me a Cup car to just go play with. And so we'd go to like Concord with it. We'd go to short tracks with it. Well, a friend of ours was practicing his Porsche for the Rolex 24, getting ready for it on the road course there. And we were like, hey, when you're not doing the road course, can we take our Cup car and make laps? He's like, yeah, no problem. We call Ed Clark, who was the president of the track. He says, yeah, no problem. He thought we were going to bring a Legends car. We unload a full-on Cup car. They're like, no, you can't do that. And we're like, oh, come on, you know. They eventually say, it's fine, but you got to run this like super slow lap. So I'd run a fast corner and then slow down a fast corner. And it was right before lunch, and my dad's like, screw it, Jim. Just go. We're going to get thrown out. It's fine. Just go. They're going to black flag you. They're going to try to shut you down. You just keep going until you want to come in. So I hammered down, and I ran 15, 20 laps. They were pissed.
No more practice there.
That was the end of that. Yeah. We loaded it right up into the trailer. Game over. Oh, it was bonkers. And that's why. And now when I see a 14-year-old kid, I go, Dad, you were stupid. Like,
Yeah, right. So I was thinking,
who does that? I mean, you're 14. You just go, okay, Dad, yeah, I'll do that. Sounds fun. You know, like you think about it. But I was ripping. We were over 200 miles an hour. It was the big horsepower Cup cars from the day.
Wow. Just wow. 14 years old. It's apparent Logano's father was committed to his son's success, and he proved it that day. Which brings us to yesterday. Reports surfaced late in the day that NASCAR had confiscated the roof rails on the number 10 and number 41 cars. If there's a penalty, it could come next week. For SHR fans and NASCAR fans in general, the news was a case of we've been down this road before. Let's go back to 2022. In October of that year, Kevin Harvick felt NASCAR's wrath, and Rodney Childers was suspended 4 races and fined $100,000 for an L2 penalty of modifying a single-source supplied part, which was discovered during post-race inspection after the Talladega playoff race. If you'll recall, Harvick had been very vocal about the next-gen car for its violent hits throughout the year, but took it up a notch in the playoffs when he called out NASCAR for its crappy-ass parts after his car caught on fire at Darlington. The team was also docked 100 driver and 100 owner points. Childers, who is a regular on social media, took to Twitter. Shocker, he wrote, suggesting NASCAR's penalty was in response to Harvick's criticism of the sanctioning body. Childers later deleted the tweet. However, looking back now, SHR and NASCAR were just getting started. Fast forward to the 2023 season and May. That's when NASCAR dropped the hammer on the number 14 team of Chase Briscoe, with a 6-race suspension and $250,000 fine for then crew chief Johnny Klossmeyer for use of a counterfeit part. SHR officials said it was a quality control lapse and the part should have never been on the car. And then there was last year in October at Talladega. Harvick finished second in the race, but it didn't last long after NASCAR disqualified the number 4 car when it found unsecured windshield fasteners during post-race inspection. After the race, Childers once again took to Twitter. "There have been times I've got caught doing something I shouldn't have," he wrote in what is a since-deleted tweet. "Today got DQ'd for the car buffering in the draft all day and some windshield bolts vibrating out. My guys had silicone on the threads and gobbed on the tip. Still came out. Not sure what else we could do." The next day, Childers responded to a fan's tweet accusing him of lying. "Nope. I said exactly what happened, just like I always do. Sad thing is, people don't want the truth. They just want to believe what they want. 30 to go, every bolt was still in. 20 to go, 2 were gone. So 448 miles, we're good. And unfortunately, 52, we're not. It sucks for sure." Do we notice a pattern here? And to be clear, no other team has been penalized this many times in the next-gen car era. Not even close. So is NASCAR picking on SHR, as some of its loyal fans would want you to believe? Or has the organization just been sloppy with its creativity on the next-gen car? It appears to be the latter, and it makes you wonder why. One plausible explanation could be because the organization as a whole is feeling the pressure. Just look at their off-season social media blitz, where they repeatedly shared things about how they were racers and going to prove the doubters wrong. Tony Stewart has been vocal the last month or so about the team's failings over the last couple of seasons with the next-gen car. Although, to be honest, the issues at SHR date back to 2021. For SHR fans, it's got to be encouraging to see that they're trying to make their way back up to the top of the Cup Series food chain. And that obviously is through all means necessary. But based on the latest news, they absolutely must get better in their creativity department, or this could be a painfully long season for the organization and its fans. All right, guys, that's it for our latest episode. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what we talked about. What did you think about Denny Hamlin calling out Jim France? Good or bad move? Were you surprised, as Dale Jr. was, to learn of the secret alliance between his father and Jeff Gordon's team? And lastly, what do you think about the latest news on SHR? Will they get penalized this coming week? Remember, if you want to see these stories I've talked about in written form, check out my writing at heavy.com. And I'm also happy to announce that I'll be regularly posting stories on my newly remodeled beatenandbanging.com website. Go check it out and sign up for our weekly newsletter, which you'll receive every Friday, recapping the week's big news items, including a review of the week's worth of NASCAR podcasts. Thanks again, as always, for checking out the channel, and have a great rest of your day.